We just heard the story of both Moses being so bright and flushed with light that he wanted to put a veil over his head. And why was he flushed with light? Because he had come so close to the presence of God. He had heard God, he felt God, he knew it within his being. Something great was happening. Likewise, Jesus doesn't change or anything like that, but kind of removes the veil of who he is presented in this world and becomes who he is called to be. Earlier in Luke, he asked people, "Who do you say I am?" And they would say, "Oh, I think you're this," or "Oh, I think you're that." But on that mountain, in that sacred space, Jesus tells them who he is. Now, do we humans get it right? No! They had known Jesus up until this point. They had seen Jesus feed hungry people. They had seen Jesus heal people. So what was the first thought that came in their mind? Let's just build some temples. They had fallen short. And God says, just listen. Just listen. It's an advice that we often give to young parents, right? The mom may become pregnant, and she might be glowing, and we don't know really why that's happening. Really, the baby's taking her calcium, her blood flow is low, she is exhausted, her body hurts. In some weird way, she starts glowing. Why? Because God has put light in her, and the two together glow brighter. Just like multiple candles glow brighter, right? So the life of God is in her. She's glowing brighter, which defeats the odds. So then what do husbands typically do when they see their glowing, exhausted, tired wife? They try to make it bend, right? But is that what she really wants? Or does she want somebody to listen to her, right? And listen you'll have to do for 10 months. Or you might end up like Ezekiel. Remember what happened there? No? Remember Elizabeth? Right? He told God, that's going to happen. This can't happen. And God's like, shh. Listen. Listen. And sometimes listening can be hard, like when we listen to Job, and Job goes on and on and on and on. I get that. I even get sick and tired of my own voice. Last few Sundays, it was nice to hear another preacher talk. I've talked about how I like to take the 5th Sunday off because I just need to have my own cup filled. And I don't want to hear my voice. And even my own husband said, it was nice to hear another person preach. Right? Like, it's nice to listen. It's good to hear. It's good to be present. We don't have to have all the answers right away. We don't have to fix it. We don't have to go up there and build this giant castle or pyramid. We just sometimes are called to be. When you're sad or frustrated or angry, what's the most important thing that somebody can give for you? A listening ear, right? Somebody who's not going to judge you, but just listen. Glowing for my kids, and I struggled this week. How do you talk about Transfiguration Sunday? It's one of those Sundays where people come to church saying, okay, Pastor, explain to me what happened. Just like the Holy Trinity. And now some pastors might say, this is what happens, and this is what happens, and that's all you need to know. But I think the best pastors say is, it's a holy mystery, right? We don't have all the answers. We don't totally know why women glow. We don't totally know why Moses all of a sudden started pretending to be a pregnant woman. We don't know. We know it is a holy mystery. That idea of glowing. And so this week I tried to think of something your generation may not have heard. Because I know you've heard many Transfiguration Sundays. You've probably sat in on at least 30 to 40 of them. So what example could I give that might illuminate Transfiguration Sunday? Well, as it so happens, Rowan had an idea. He thought it would be good to watch the movie Godzilla -1. Now, you might be wondering why this movie would be good to illuminate Transfiguration Sunday. Because in Godzilla -1, it's the special movie, the moment in which Godzilla eats nuclear energy and can glow. And he does the nuclear blasts, which are used to in the future movies. Rather than Godzilla just having to whack buildings or eat planes, right? He gets nuclear energy and he fills his body and it gets really inside of Godzilla. And then you see on his tail, one spike pops up, 2 spikes pop up, 3 spikes pop up, and it gets to his head and he blasts out this energy of destruction. So in Rowan's sweet mind, he thought that was Transfiguration Sunday. Blast out that energy. Now I was skeptical how I would illuminate the service with Godzilla until I watched it. And I will be honest with you, it was my favorite of Godzilla movies. See, this one was actually written by Japanese people and it was filmed by Japanese people. And I realized, and it's filmed and it's written in 1945. So right post-part World War II. And what do we know about Japan in World War II? Right? They were the defeated country. They were the ones that, for a country based on honor and kamikaze planes, right, where it was honorable to kill yourself for your country, they had lost the war. They were on the wrong side of history. They were broken people. They had no money. They had lost thousands. Families were broken and torn apart. They were devastated, and they were angry with their own country. Why? Because their own country withheld information from them, made them do things that weren't right, made them fly in planes that did not have ejection seats because it cost too much money to make. They were people that were broken, impoverished, depressed. They didn't feel that they had honor, and they didn't feel they were worthy of love. Now, this movie was written around 2000, I think it was 2019, 2018. So this would have been the great-great-grandkids of those people from that era. And there's this excellent scene where they realize in order to destroy Godzilla, they got to make him go up and down a high pressurized system, right? To make his body explode. Because nuclear weapons don't work at this point. And the big ships are trying to pull Godzilla, they're trying to pull him fast, and they don't have enough power. And there's this beautiful, I almost feel like artistic scene where the young children that the older adults made stay home came and brought all the tugboats. And so there's a scene where Godzilla's in the middle, and there's a ring that he's trapped into, and then around that ring are these bigger ships. And then beyond that ring are these tiny little tugboats from all the children. And together, I'm not going to give you the end of the movie, but it's pretty good. They had to come together. And the movie was done so spectacularly. I realized watching the movie, I have seen lots of World War II movies. I have seen lots of fight the Nazi movies and this and that. I have never seen a movie from the perspective of a country trying to build itself back up. Of a country trying to heal the wounds that had happened in the war. A country that doesn't get to tell their grandkids, we won that one. A country where their leaders were wrong. A country where their leaders lied to them and lied to the public. How do they build up? And the movie does such a good job because here's a country that's sick of war. They don't want to kill any more people. So how do you create a common enemy that's not a person? Godzilla, right? You have to be extra creative around this Godzilla, and you have to bring people together. And I love the filming of it. You can tell it does things that, I know it had a bigger budget than usual, but it didn't have like the massive Godzilla American budgets. And so they had to do original old-timey kind of things, where when they're around the ship and they're not sure, remember the tugboats, and they're not sure if they actually killed Godzilla, it slowly gets quieter and quieter. And everything stops. And I found myself in that silence, looking at my own family. Where'd he go? Did we do it? Silence. I think that's what Jesus was looking for. Silence. Live in the moment. Look around. We all face enemies, and sometimes the enemies are from within. Sometimes we stand on the wrong side of history, and sometimes our leaders shame us. And we have to tell our story to our kids. We have to find a way to heal. And in this particular story, there's 3 different people that meet each other because of fate. One young woman is thrown a baby that's not hers. Her parents had died, and the mother who was dying asked her to take care of the baby. That same mother comes to one of the kamikaze pilots who was too afraid to kill himself. And so he feels he is unworthy of love. He failed. He can't forgive himself, and he doesn't want to talk about his shame, but he takes this woman and child in, and together they build a life. And he doesn't let this little girl, who's absolutely adorable, call him daddy, because he's not her daddy. And he doesn't do it from a place of anger. He does it from a place that he doesn't feel that he deserves love. Which isn't too uncommon, right? And most veterans that come back from war, they have survivor's guilt. They have PTSD, and they don't feel they are worthy of love. And I think if we're being honest, many of us at times feel we're not worthy of that love. As I struggled all week, I wasn't feeling well this past week, and I wasn't feeling good, and I struggled to find an example to share with you all. As I was watching this Godzilla movie, -1, I thought to myself, I'm undeserving of a God. Here I am at the cusp of a sermon, and God just gives this example of beauty and life and love in the strangest of places, like a Japanese war movie. We all feel at times unworthy of love. And rather than build a temple or be put to work or do something, we are called to listen, to be, to hear, to remember. There was these famous wordings I loved. The country has been defeated. They've just started building their life back together. It's around 1947. News of this Godzilla is spreading. The government couldn't keep a cap on it too long. And they're trying to get people to fight this thing because the country's not coming to help them. Because other countries don't want anything to do with them. And this little island is alone. And there's this line where one of the men says, don't fight to live. No, sorry, it says, don't live to fight. You're not born just to die or to fight, but fight to live. Likewise, live to love. At the very end of the season, at the show, there's a final scene where this young kamikaze person feels healed. He had done what he was called to do. And there's this final scene. And the person in front of him says, can you finally be done with this war? His internal war struggle. Could he finally forgive himself? Could he finally be at peace? I think that's why we have communion. I think Jesus says, can you finally be done with this war? When we go through our communion liturgy, Do you forgive yourself? Do you free yourself of the guilt? Do you truly give all your guilt and your pain and your sorrow and all those things you're willing to talk publicly or not publicly about to God? Are you ready to be done with the war and live to love? As we take communion today and we reflect on transfiguration, I hope that a light glows within you again. And you give all that darkness and all that pain and all that shame to the one who can actually carry it for us. Amen.